Hello everybody, my name's Swicey and welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to be talking to you guys about how you can build every single champion in the game. Now obviously I can't say, hey, let's go through every single champion in one video and let's build them all. No, I don't have every champion, and no, I wouldn't do that anyways. That would take way too long and just wouldn't be worth the time. But I'm going to be talking to you guys about the strategies that you can take to learn to build every champion and how each individual type of champion works and all that fun stuff. So let's go ahead and get into it. So when we're looking at builds, usually people are going to break it up between nukers, supports, revivers. When I'm saying supports, I'm more meaning like debuffers, kind of like Armands, and all of these different styles of champions. Now, if you don't really know how to distinguish a champion based off of is it a nuker, a reviver, etc., well, let's go ahead and take a look at it. One of the outliers of this that we're going to be looking at is going to be mythics, and we'll talk about them separately, but yeah. So let's go to skinwalkers and let's take a look at I love Uko. So Uko, when you read his kit, he has an AoE on the A1 with the decreased attack. That's already an amazing support ability, really good for basically anything. Then on the A2, he's having an AoE double hitter, 100% chance to remove 2 random buffs, well, 4 random buffs in total from each target, and then places block buffs and decrease attack for 2 turns on the targets that have no buffs after the attack. So automatically, you probably think, hey, this guy's a pure buff stripper, he's going to be an amazing kind of like Hydra Necmo style champion, but actually his A3 on a 4-turn cooldown revives all dead allies and then places a block buffs on them, also places increased speed. So Uko is one of those champions where he's actually going to be probably playing a bunch of roles for you. For how I build him in Arena, I usually put him in Stone Skin, slow with very high accuracy, because his passive actually makes it to where running slow is pretty fun. But you could run him in a debuffer set, more like, let's say, Hex or Provoke or Stun. Those are all good options for Uko, and it's all really up to how you want to use him. He is one of those champions that's pretty hard to follow along a certain guideline, but I think he's a great option and a great example for those who are like, I don't really know how to build these champs. You base it off of what you need. So let's say you already have Necmo or you already have Eostrid in your Hydra team. Chances are you don't need him in a Hex set because one of them are probably going to be in Hex set. Maybe you need him in Provoke for Hydra, or maybe you don't need him in Hydra at all, so you go for a Stone Skin build. You could even go a Stun or Provoke set in Arena as well. So if you're not sure how to build him, a great option, because of his A1 being an AoE, his A2 being an AoE, is going to be Provoke, because it's the most consistent set for crowd control. Now that is one of those hybrid style champions. Now let's look at a specific support. Just straight up support. They do absolutely nothing else. That's Duchess. Duchess is one of those champions that you will find nothing but pure support, reviver style support, and that's it. How do I know this? How would you go about reading a champion's kit and saying, hey, that's a pure support? Let's go ahead and take a look at her. One, she is a support class. I don't really know what the word would be. Support based, something like that. Her A1 being a double hitter, places a shield buff equal to 10%. It goes up to like 40% of this champion's max HP on this champion and the ally with the lowest HP. Immediately you can read that and say, hey, that's clearly supporting somebody that's trying to keep the team alive. The A2, we're looking at an AoE, block debuffs, and then increase attack on all allies for 2 turns, and then places Perfect Veil on all allies except this champion for 2 turns. She's strictly doing support. She's keeping the rest of the team alive, making sure they can't get CC'd, making sure they don't get debuffed, increasing their damage, and then on her A3, on a 4-turn cooldown, an AoE revive, 70% HP, places a Veil buff on all allies except this champion for 1 turn, and then a continuous heal buff on all allies for 2 turns. This is just an amazing support ability. There's nothing else to it. You don't want to put her in anything like a provoke set or anything like that. You're going Stone Skin, you're going pure speed, you're going bolster. Any of those options are great. My personal favorite set for Duchess is bolster, but bolster is a pay-to-win set at the end of the day. So you're going to have to look at other things for a lot of people. Protection is an amazing option for her because she's putting up 3 buffs AoE. If you get a 9 piece, that's like, it's either, I think it's 9% damage extra, which is really solid. And then her passive decreases the damage taken by all allies from AoE attacks by 25% and 15% from bosses. Again, just pure support. That's how you know. Just try to focus on what is their kit doing to synergize with itself. How could you focus on one thing instead of trying to make everything work at the same time in a champion like that? And really, a champion like that, you can only do one thing, which makes it really easy to build. I know I'm kind of contradicting myself in some of the things I'm saying, but I hope you get the general gist. The next type of champion that's going to be a little weird to build is going to be your hybrid nukers. Somebody like a Mishinaki. Mishinaki, you can look at him, you say, hey, okay, he's defensive based, he has solid defense, okay crit damage, he has some crit rate, good speed. A1, 50% chance, booking up to a 60% chance of placing an HP burn on the A1. So automatically I see a debuff. Okay, we're going to need some accuracy. On the A2, AoE, 3-turn cooldown, attacks all enemies, 100% chance of placing decreased defense and decrease attack if they're under hex, but 2 debuffs there, so for sure we need some accuracy, but we're also seeing some damage possibly. And if you're not sure if you're gonna see damage out of champions, go to Hell Hades website and you can see the multipliers there. If you're not sure about how multipliers work, a general rule of thumb is 4 is like average for attack based nukers. Like on an AoE, a 4 is what Foley has. Really solid champion, but yeah, it's not the best, it's not the worst, it's pretty much right in the middle. And you can kind of follow that for defensive nukers as well. Now, Harima is one of those champions that's an outlier. She does stupid amounts of damage without having the best multiplier, so there's always going to be rule breakers when a rule is made, but just kind of something to look at. Then on his A3, on a 3-turn cooldown, attacks all enemies 2 times. The first hit removes all buffs from each target. The second hit places hex. So when you're reading this, he has a lot of debuffs. He has a buff removal. On paper, when you're just looking at, let's say you've never played this game before, you probably look at this guy and say, hey, you want to use him for debuffing, and that's about it. He shouldn't probably be doing damage, but actually, whenever an ally attacks an enemy under hex, this champion has a 50% chance to team up and join the ally's attack with his A1. That alone makes him insane for damage, but all of his kit is amazing for damage, and so you're going to have to be looking at both damage and accuracy and speed and all of those fun things. I'll be sure to show you guys some build examples for a lot of these styles of champions just so you can get an idea, but I really want to help you guys learn to read kits, because learning to read kits is very important. You have to form your own opinion on champions, and this is often how secret, I don't want to say secret, but more hidden champions get found. Because when somebody really goes in and reads their kit, sees something special, and you can make something work from it, that's how you can make your account grow further with what you have. Alright, now we've looked at a debuffing style support, we've looked at a full-on support, we have looked at a hybrid nuker. Let's look at a pure nuker. They're doing nothing but nuking. They're useless outside of their damage. That'd be Hefrak. Hefrak, you look at his kit, he's attack based, 1550, not bad, a little low on the speed, but nothing horrendous, solid crit damage. A1, attacks one enemy, places an extra hit if this attack is critical. Immediately, I want him with 100% crit rate, I want this to hit twice. There's no question about that. Then on the A2, on a 3-turn cooldown, attacks all enemies, places an extra hit on champions, on targets with less than 50% HP after the first hit. You read that, okay, if I hit him the first time really hard, the second time I'm going to hit him really hard again, but only if that first hit's hitting, and then each hit will ignore 15% of the target's defense. So immediately we have a really strong hit, hopefully, and then another really strong hit after that if the first one was good enough, and then we're also ignoring defense. Ignoring defense is one of the most important things in all of Raid for doing damage. So as soon as you see ignore defense, there's a very high chance that's going to be a damage dealer. Then on his A3 on a 4-turn cooldown, places increased attack and increased crit rate on this champion for 3 turns, then grants an extra turn. So just playing around himself, going back to this amazing hit, self-buffing, really solid champion. And then his passive is fantastic. Whenever an ally is killed by an enemy champion, instantly activates his A2. Will not put the skill on cooldown. If there are multiple champions on the team with the skill, only one will activate. So he's going back using this attack again. Obviously he's just doing damage. He has no debuffs, he has no turn down their turn meter, no lockouts, nothing, just pure damage and super simple to build. So now we've looked at a debuffing support, a hybrid nuker, a nuker. Now let's just go look at a debuffer. And the best one in the game right now, in my opinion, is Armand's, at least for Arena. Armand's, you look at him, he's a support, okay. I mean, you can't take all that much from that. Sometimes supports can do a lot of damage, like Seer. Seer's one of those rule breakers. Then you look at his base stats. Alright, well, not solid, but not bad HP. Pretty low on the attack, pretty low on the defense, really good speed. Has some resistance, some accuracy. Okay, this guy clearly has something going when it comes to speed. That's going to be one of his big things. Now his A1 attacks one enemy, has a 50% chance of increasing the cooldown of a random active skill by 2 turns. Fills the champion's turn meter by 10% for each turn added to the cooldown. So we're playing around turn meter a lot, and we're also locking them out, so we need some accuracy. Having a lockout is pretty rare and is very strong. Now on the A2, on a 3-turn cooldown, attacks all enemies, steals all the turn meter from each of the enemies except enemies under sheep. Also places stun debuff from 1 turn on all enemies not under sheep. Alright, insane skill. Clearly, you want to be going first, you want to be stealing all their turn meter, and then you want to be stunning them. So, purely, we're going full accuracy and speed. And then on his A3, on a 3-turn cooldown, his cooldowns are crazy low. It's really insane. He kind of needs a nerf, but he's found his way. I think he isn't too oppressive at the moment with some of the things coming into the game, but maybe that's a bad take. I don't know. Anyways, on a 3-turn cooldown, places a sheep debuff on an enemy for 1 turn. This debuff cannot be blocked. So Stone Skin goes straight through it, doesn't matter. Then has a 75% chance of removing all buffs from all enemies, books up to 100% chance, fills this champion's turn meter by 5% for each buff removed. I mean, come on, that is insane, guys. Clearly, we're going accuracy, we're going speed. And then his passive, whenever a sheep debuff is removed or expires on an enemy, increases the cooldown of a random active skill on that enemy to its max. Fills the champion's turn meter by 10% for each turn added to the cooldown. If there are multiple champions on the team with the skill, only one will activate. So that's how you can kind of see that they're going to be just pure debuffing. They want speed, they want debuffs, that is it. Now, there's going to be other like subclasses of champions, similar to like the hybrid nuker and stuff, but that is just the basics, guys. There's things like enemy max HP hitters who are going to be wanting a completely different build than a lot of champions, and there's also going to be mythics like Galathier, let's say, the best champion in the game, and he could either be going with the full resistance because of his passive, full resistance and speed, trying to just debuff enemies and lock them out and stuff, or you could be going with a more support heavy side, focusing on like stone skin or bolster or something of that sort. I'm not going to go too far into the mythics because honestly not that many people have them right now. I don't have any more than one, so I couldn't show you a build anyways. But yeah, mythics are going to be kind of their own thing, and as I get more of them, I'll be putting more videos out. But as it stands right now, all I have is this guy right here, and he's one of the worst. So I'm not too worried about it. Anyways, let's go ahead and look at some build examples for these champions that I've mentioned and their classes. So first, let's go ahead and look at Uko, one of the first champions I mentioned. He was the first champion I mentioned, actually. So he's in Perception and 6-piece Stone Skin. He doesn't have the best gear on right now because I did steal some for some other champs at one point. But 61.6k HP, 3.5k defense, 250 speed, and then 641 accuracy. Picking up 2 Stone Skin accessories so I can have the 6-piece. He is fully booked. He has 2-star polymorph. You could make the argument that you could go Life Harvest or Temporal Chains on him. And then these are the masteries I went with. If you're going with debuffing, you like stuns or provokes, you do want to go down this side, pick up both counterattacks, and then throw on Fearsome Presence. Overall, a very solid build for Uko. Like I said, you could change out the sets for a stun or provoke or hex or whatever you need. Then we have Duchess. Where is my main Duchess? I have 2. This is my main Duchess. So I have her in Perception, Bolster, 1-piece Stone Skin, and then 2 reaction pieces. The Perception is not needed. It was just to get the speed and I had a really solid piece here, had a really solid piece here. This one is kind of outdated at this point. I could definitely replace that. But yeah. So her build, she has 17.2k HP, 4.3k defense, and then 263 speed, 413 resistance. Overall, this is kind of what you're looking for on a support champion similar to Duchess. You definitely want to be picking up a lot of HP, a lot of speed, a lot of defense, and then any resistance or anything that can be picked up is also very, very nice. And then we have her skills. I have everything booked but her A1. Her A1 can actually be really good booked, so don't ignore that. I have 6-star polymorph on her right now, but I do think I could easily go with Life Harvest. Life Harvest is amazing for her. The next best option, I would say, maybe Intimidating Presence. Honestly, I think Polymorph and Life Harvest are just the options to go. And then these are the masteries I have on her. They're not, I don't really know what else you'd really go with on her. I could see going with Unshakable, but I think Timely Intervention is just so important on champions like Duchess. You really need that. And yeah. So then we have our Hybrid Nuker. Mishinaki is who I mentioned, so we'll look at him. I have my Mishinaki in a 6-piece Merciless because that's going to give us 35% defense ignore. And then he is at 50k HP, almost 7k defense, 253 speed, 100% crit rate, 280 crit damage, and then 341 accuracy. Now do keep in mind I have him built a little bit different than I would like an arena hybrid nuker. I went a little bit low on the accuracy if it were to be for arena, and maybe just a little bit high on the speed since we couldn't pick up some other stats that I would need, but overall his build is really solid and something that I would try to replicate if I were you. The stat splits for Hydra are pretty solid here, so a bit of emphasis into the defense, the crit damage. We went pretty heavy on the accuracy for, let's say, in a mid-game account, you'd be looking at like 200 accuracy with some crit damage, some speed, and some defense. I can't exactly scale these down perfectly just because I don't have many low-level pieces of gear on my account because I've constantly cleansed it throughout my entire time playing the game. But he is fully booked with 2-star Nature's Wrath, and then I have him going down into War Master. Now, for a lot of nukers, you would go Helm Smasher, but if he is an PvE nuker, War Master or Giant Slayer are probably the options to go. Unless it's somebody like Varl, who's also a hybrid nuker for me. I guess he's a really good example as well, but I think his gear is a bit more ahead of Mishinaki's anyways. But yeah, similar thing, 6-piece Merciless. We went with about 320 accuracy on both of them. Okay speed on him, definitely need it higher right now, but it's okay. 277 crit damage, and then 7.4k attack. He is fully booked, of course, 2-star Nature's Wrath, and on him you can see I went Helm Smasher, just because of how hard he hits and how much that Helm Smasher helps him out. You could go either way on either of the champions, but that's just the way I did it. Now let's look at a nuker. Now, when it comes to Hefrak, I have him built a little bit differently than you would most straight up nukers, so we're not going to look at him specifically, just because the build, I haven't messed with it in a very long time, and it's not that good. So let's take a look at... Rhodos is a special kind of champion. I don't want to look at him. Let's look at Foley. Since he's attack-based, he's somebody I mentioned earlier. I have Foley in Lethal, Cruel, 1-piece Protection, 1-piece Supersonic. This build is pretty insane. Sorry, guys. But you could just try to scale down the stats a bit. So we're focusing the 100% crit rate as other nukers. But then we want to be going, I guess you'd be looking at like a split of, let's say, 4,000 attack and then 250 crit damage, I think or 240 crit damage is a pretty solid way to go, let's say, a mid-game account. And then the speed, this is just how I have him built. You don't need this much speed, but nukers love it in Arena. You could have him at like 210 with the other stats I mentioned, and it would be a perfectly fine build. I know my champions are built very well, and I'm not trying to like undermine the fact that my gear is a higher level than some. Then he's fully booked with a 4-star Phantom Touch, and then I have him going down into Helm Smasher. Now, usually on a nuker like this, we'd be going down into Counterattack, but on him, I use him in Fire Knight, and I do like having this extra accuracy. For a champion with probably better masteries, I would be looking at my Rhodos here. This is Rhodos Mastery specifically, but you get the idea. We pick up the Helm Smasher, we pick up the Retribution, and yeah. So guys, that is my basic rundown of how you can learn to build any champion in the game. Now, of course, for every rule, there's going to be a rule breaker. Like, let's say UDK, for example. He looks like a solid support champion. He's going to be debuffing. He's got some good shields, some heals here. An amazing passive on both ends. But since this passive exists, we build him a lot differently than you probably think you would just on paper. You have him 0 speed in Stone Skin with accuracy and resistance, and that's basically how everybody builds him. I still don't have his masteries. I told you I'll do that a long time ago. I need to get on that. But yeah, you get the idea. He breaks the rules pretty hard. Another champion that breaks the rules is probably going to be somebody like Rhodos. And doesn't exactly break the rules, but he's just built differently since his damage is based on both attack and HP. So on him specifically, I have him with a solid split of HP, attack, speed, crit damage, and crit rate. He's a very, very stat heavy champion, and some of these champions you probably just won't be able to build for a while, guys, honestly. I don't like saying that, but that's just kind of how it is. Some champions need too many stats for some people to build them earlier on. I guess if we're looking at the pure debuffer, I forgot to show you guys a pure debuffer. That's my bad. Let's get to it. So Armand's, I have him in 4-piece Stone Skin, and then 2 sets of Perception, 60k HP, 3.2k defense, 345 speed with 656 accuracy, fully booked with 3-star Polymorph, and then I have him going down into Eagle Eye. I don't know why I don't have him maxed out Masteried. I would probably throw him in Deterrence. But yeah, so that would be my build style for just a straight up debuffer. I don't know how I forgot to show him, but it is what it is. It isn't that crazy. The video didn't end yet. But yeah, guys. So that's my basic rundown of every basic build style. Of course, again, there's going to be plenty of other options like Supreme Gaelic, where you're going with the Relentless build, Emic, where you're going pure protection gear, usually with a lot of resistance, Molly Tankard, where you'd be going a resistance tank for Hydra. These are all things you'll learn further down the road if you're watching this to just learn how to do the basics, guys. But yeah, I do appreciate y'all for watching. If you did enjoy this video, please hit that like button, that subscribe button. If you are interested in meeting a great community of people who are more than happy to help you learn more about the game, answer some of your questions about the builds you need to do, and all that fun stuff, you can join my Discord through the link in the description. Outside of that, I really appreciate you guys for watching. I'll see you on the next one. Peace out, guys.